and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, and I'm so excited today because I'm speaking with a Women in Retail Leadership Circle member, Patty Rader. She's also the Chief Growth Officer and Chief Legal Officer at Ergo Baby. And today we're going to talk about how Patty created a women's leadership group at her company. For all of you listening out there, I know you'll be inspired by her story, and hopefully you'll even be able to gather some tips and tricks to use if you'd like to launch one at your company as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, Patty. How are you?
Thank you, Melissa. I'm excited to be here.
Perfect. So let's just jump right in. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your company. I'm sure most people have seen the Ergo Baby logo and know what it is, but maybe you could just share with our audience what it is and also your role there.
Sure, absolutely. So, for those of you that have an Ergo baby carrier, it's an amazing baby carrier, but it was started by founder Karen Frost, who was a single mother living in Hawaii. And she was not satisfied with the baby carrier options that were available to her and created this ergonomic baby carrier that has really then become one of the world's most ergonomic products in the world. And it is now sold globally. And so the company has expanded to now include products for anywhere from birth to approximately 4 years old. But all of the products are focused on comfort, ergonomic comfort, quality, and function. And so we have products ranging from nursing pillows to sleep, to an amazing stroller. And of course, it all started with that Ergo Baby carrier. And it's a place where we also offer education for new parents, connection and support. And we really believe that as a company that's expanded, we have a responsibility to not just care for our children, but to leave the world a better place for future generations. And so my role actually kind of helps do that. My role is as Chief Growth and Legal Officer. And I act as a strategic advisor to our CEO to help grow the company through new products, international expansion, acquisition, areas of growth such as digital. But I also lead a corporate social responsibility group that is focused on leaving the world and planet a better place for our future. And in that group, we focus on sustainability, charitable giving, diversity and inclusion. And it's exciting. We're the first in our space to launch a baby carrier using sustainable materials. We just launched this heirloom baby carrier that's made with recycled water bottles. And a year ago, we launched the first re-commerce program in the baby space where families can return their pre-loved carriers so that they can go to another good home and not fill landfills. So it's an exciting place to be.
I love that. I didn't realize all the backstory and all the kind of work that you do there. I actually had an Ergo Baby carrier with my kids, and I'm pretty sure it's been passed to other friends. So I'm sort of was doing that before it was trendy.
I
um,
love that. I love that.
um, so we met at an event. I forget where, but we met on a virtual call, I think, with another group. And you had mentioned, I think, just in passing, that you had set up a women's leadership group at your company, and just that caught my attention because I know a lot of companies, larger companies, have these kinds of groups, but I don't know if a lot of smaller to medium-sized companies have them, or they're not sort of set up in the way that you had been describing. So I thought it might be cool to discuss that on this podcast. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about, why you decided to do this and how you went about it? I'm sure it'd be really helpful to our listeners.
Sure, absolutely. So I've always had a passion for women's leadership and really a firm believer of providing and holding space for women leaders to thrive. So I was one of those people that was in a large company. I was at Procter and Gamble early on in my career in marketing, and part of a women's leadership group there. But even before then, I've just really had a big interest in supporting other women, and I'm a firm believer in that. So it started in college. I founded a UCLA Women's Leadership Conference that's now been in occurrence every year for the last 20 plus years. And it was such an incredible way to bring speakers to the college campus to inspire women anywhere from female prime ministers to political officials, CEOs, academic leaders, artists, poets. It was really incredible. And then that led me to work when I was in law school. I sat on the American Bar Association Commission on Women in the Profession, which was incredible at the time that it was started. It was actually started by Hillary Clinton. There were very few women in the legal profession. And so it was also a really great space to promote women. So it's just been a passion of mine and something I wanted to bring to this company because we are a baby products company, which primarily is servicing um, families, and a lot of our consumers are women. And so I think it was really just important for me to help mentor and guide the other women in the organization. So that was really sort of the impetus and desire for me to start such a group.
Great. That's such an interesting backstory. So I know our audience might be interested in sort of how you went about it. So did you like work with your CEO, or did you um, seek out folks at the company who wanted to join, or how did it kind of all work?
Well, I started by sharing the idea with our CEO, and I guess I'm in a fortunate position that serving on the C suite helps because I have a close relationship with the CEO. But I really got a lot of support from our global leadership team, which are the executives in the company, and all the women who are part of the global leadership team actually joined the women's leadership group and helped me in starting it. And so there was just a lot of support from the leadership group and our CEO around that. And that includes our head of HR, who's a woman and just also extremely, um, you know, supportive and believes in also holding space for women to thrive. And so that I think was a really good foundation for us to get started. And then we had support from our international offices. We had support from our board of directors and just interest from a lot of employees because obviously we wouldn't have a group without people who want to be a part of that group. And so
Mhm.
that's really kind of how we were able to get buy in and support.
Great. And so how many members is the group right now?
We are approximately 30 members, and it continues to grow. We'll hear from employee updates that our head of HR will send out, especially now with a lot of folks working from home, of things that have happened in the group, and then that will prompt other women in the company to reach out and say, "Can I join? Is it too late for me to be a part of this group?" And of course, we are welcome. We're welcoming to all members who want to join.
Sure. So, and then how does the program work? Do you have meetings, like speakers? Do you meet regularly? All that good stuff.
We do. We have regular meetings a few times a month, and during those meetings, we discuss issues and topics ranging from support and resource for women's leaders, such as like external and internal mentorship. So, several of our members have expressed interest in wanting to be set up with mentors outside of the company, and I've been able to connect them with some amazing women, including probably women that you and I both know in common, and then internal mentorship of maybe cross-functional or other departments. We've discussed topics ranging from imposter syndrome and how women often find it difficult to apply for a role if they don't feel that they've met all of the criteria or above, to intersectionality of things like race with gender, to career advancement. We've shared resources and books and articles with the group. And then recently we started bringing in some guest speakers. We actually had a woman who sits on our board of directors come speak with the group and share her career path and journey. And that was really inspiring to a lot of the members. But it's an employee led group. So our topics are really driven by interests from the members of the group.
And it's strictly like a volunteer position to be running it and then joining it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely whoever's interested in doing it. It's not a requirement to be, in a senior leadership role at the company to be part of it, but I do think it shows just so much support and interest that all the women on the global leadership team decided to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's so great. I'm sure you cover so many great topics that are probably not the types of topics that get discussed, regularly. So it's just so great. I love the topics that you mentioned, and that's fabulous that you have speakers. Um, I wanted to ask, the pandemic is still, unfortunately, something that's on people's minds. It's clearly getting better, but can you talk a little bit how maybe how the program, I don't want to say changed since the pandemic began, but maybe did it have a different function, or did more folks join as a result of the pandemic, or just sort of the intersection there?
Well, funny you should mention that because the group actually started during the pandemic. So it
Oh,
started in
okay.
2020. So prior to that, I was actually part of the company, but in a different role. So I was president of our subsidiary brand. So we have two brands, and was running that business. And then, kind of when I shifted into this growth role, it was one of the things I really wanted to focus on because I was working on corporate social responsibility already, and it was also a really great way to engage our global teams during the pandemic. And so it's been a phenomenal way to bring together our different offices. So we have women in the group from France and Germany and Benelux, offices across the US. We're based in California, but it's just been a really good way to bring together those global teams. It's been a really great way to bring together members of the two brands that don't maybe work together as much on a daily basis, and to onboard new employees that have interest in women's leadership. So we already have two new employees that just recently joined. And I think they're finding it to be a nice place for them to also just meet other people, other women who have similar interests in either topics around career advancement or leadership styles, or how to even just thrive in this company.
Great. So there's a lot of different functions and ways the program can be used and can be helpful, to folks. So that's awesome. Um, so one of the things that I wanted to get your opinion on or get your advice on is some best practices. Do you have any like best practices around starting this type of a program? As I said earlier, a lot of our listeners, probably already may work for a larger company that has a program like this, but quite a few may not. So can you just kind of walk us through where to start, I guess, or any learnings that you had from starting it?
Sure, absolutely. I think a good way to start is obviously to get support and buy-in for the program, but to really have a clear vision for what you want to get out of that group. So, if you are in a mid-size, small organization, or even if you're at a large organization where this doesn't exist and you think it would be something that would bring value to employees and to other women, I think having a clear vision of what you want to get out of that group is important. Being disciplined about scheduling meetings because if you're the owner of that group, it's the onus is on you to make sure that regular meetings occur, so that there is a forum for these discussions. For sharing information, I think it's helpful to have a dedicated space. So we actually have a Microsoft Teams channel where we can keep information that the group wants to share. So articles, whether it be a Harvard Business Review article, or a suggestion for a book, or just advice that someone wants to give. We store all of that in that channel so that people can go back and search for it. And then really to just be open to the fact that I think different members will be seeking different things out of the group. So some really want that mentorship, and having access to someone who can either connect them with a mentor, whether it's myself or our head of human resources, or other senior executive women in the organization that may have more contacts for outside mentorship, whether it's career advice, whether it's discussions about diversity and inclusion. I think just being open minded to the fact that the group may evolve would be another piece of advice I'd give.
That's great. Sort of be prepared, and, and have a. It sounds to me like the most important thing is to sort of have a plan and a program in place in mind before getting buy-in, as opposed to just having the idea. It's almost like you need the passion, but you also need the strategy. Um, so what do you have planned for the program and the rest of the year going forward, and maybe some goals for the program, or anything you can discuss there about the years ahead with this?
Sure. So right now in the group, we've been really focusing on sharing our own stories to enable other women to not only self promote, but what I like to call community promotion. So we've been reading this book called Brag Better, and how self promotion of the accomplishments that you've made is important. But because many women have different leadership styles, and some may be more reserved or quiet than others, it's such a great way for us to share our stories with one another so that in a big cross functional meeting, other women who may know, that Melissa, this was your great idea. Let me jump in and say, when Melissa came up with that great idea, it really inspired my team to do X, Y, and Z, right?
Mm,
And so that community promotion, I think, has really been an important topic that we've been talking about. But we've been looking at other books to share. There's been some great suggestions. Fair Play, a
mm.
book called More Than Enough, Burnout. One of our marketing director for EMEA has suggested a German book called Playing with Power: How
Wow.
Women Assert Themselves. So we've gotten international book suggestions for us to discuss. But we would love at some point, hopefully in 2021, to have an in person meeting and start to expand on the activities that we're able to do. So, because we are a baby products company that's focused on ergonomic comfort and safety for baby, a lot of our charitable givings around baby and maternal health. So, I would love to have, which obviously deeply impacts women, I would love to be able to get together in person and do some type of volunteer activity, and maybe that's rolled out globally. And I have aspirations and dreams for us to at some point maybe even have a conference where leaders at our company can invite outside community members, but really college and graduate students to learn more about careers within our company. Because I think the advancement of women starts with bringing in more women into an organization and then that promotion from within. So, as part of our diversity and inclusion initiative of the company, we are setting goals for how to increase diversity, and we are really good in terms of our representation of women. But I would also love to have goals around promotion of those women into more senior leadership roles.
That's so inspiring. That's awesome. What great plans. I mean, I love the idea of a conference, and it's almost like part conference, part, career fair. So at the same time, you're like having, young women join and then giving them the chance to move up. I mean, we've done so many stories and heard so many stories from our members and from people about, how important it is to move up within your company, and how it can't just be jumping around from company to company. You really should be able to move up and set roots, and especially if you have a family. So all of that stuff is so interesting. Um, so I actually think that that's about all we have time for today. I could talk to you all day. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and with our audience. I know that they'll be inspired and hopefully be starting something on their own. And I also want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of Women in Retail Talks. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcasts, where you'll have show notes. And Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Please make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. So until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.